this is the Nintendo 64 draft. What's going on here is that the CEO of Nintendo, it's the new CEO, I can't remember his name. Do you guys know his name by chance?
Nope.
Sorry.
Okay, so...
He's the young guy.
Yeah, the young guy.
Yeah.
That's all I know him
That's what I
as.
remember too.
So,
Young guy.
we work at Nintendo, and he's come up to us and said, hey, we are building a Nintendo 64 Classic, which is rumored to be happening, and that's why we're having this episode right now, because Nintendo's recently updated their trademarks for all of their Nintendo 64 related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, go build me a Nintendo 64 Classic. I don't know which games because I just got to Nintendo. So us three run into the archives. They've only got one copy of each game. And we are going to try and grab 5 or 6 games each. And we're going to see who has the best contribution to the Nintendo 64 Classic.
Oh, God, I wish I wasn't going first.
Okay. Let's start. Hold on. I got to make a minor change here. We're going to go 5 rounds, and depending on time, we might go a little longer. I think we can go 5, though. That should be fine.
Yeah.
I do have a timer as well. So, if you are not ready at the end, I will just throw on the timer, and we can go from there.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, I think you're going to be on the clock, Jason, first. So, are you ready?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. On the clock, go.
Okay, so I'm just picking the first one, right?
Yes.
Or am I picking all 5?
Nope, first
okay.
pick. That's it.
There's too many good ones, but I feel like it wouldn't be a N64 Classic without Super Mario 64, so I'm taking that first.
Whoa, Super Mario 64, congratulations. You are the first pick in the Nintendo
Gotta take
64.
it first. I feel like there will be an obvious second pick, but I don't know what y'all are going to say.
All right, give us the quick spiel on why you picked Super Mario 64 and what makes that game great.
Okay, I think the idea with the NES and SNES was these games make the system like stand out and be really unique, and I feel like no game does that more than this Mario 64, that launch game. Shows off the analog controls, Mario in 3D, wonderful levels, great design, great music. It's the whole package.
That game, I had a life-changing moment in my life with that game where it was either a couple of months or a year before the Nintendo 64 came. It must have been a couple of months before. I went to a Ontario Place, which used to be like an amusement area in Toronto, and they had a Japanese Nintendo 64 before it came out with Mario 64, and I played that game and my mind just went...
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, it's 3D, this is the future! And from that point on...
And it was the future.
Yeah, it really was. It
was.
It changed my life, and that game was phenomenal. And for some reason, I don't have a copy of that game here. That's a whole other story for another day.
Yeah. I think referencing back to Dark Souls earlier, like, if you're talking about benchmark games, like Mario 64 is the one that it's compared to. Like, oh, is it as good as this one? Or it did better in this game. So, yeah, it's a good one. All
right. Okay, I'm up with the number 2 pick. I am going to be taking The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I've never actually.
That's my 1 and 2.
Okay, I don't know if this necessarily would have been my. Oh, hold on, let me type this in. All right, second pick, Ocarina of Time. I mean, so much of that has been said, but it was the first 3D Zelda. It revolutionized 3D action games, kind of like Mario did with the Z locking and translating the Zelda universe into 3D with the crazy elaborate puzzles and the time traveling. And it was just such a grand adventure for the time, and still holds up as one of the best Zelda games ever made, if not the best. I have very fond memories of playing that game. In particular, it is my favorite final encounter in any Zelda game ever, without spoiling anything. Although that game is like 20 years old now.
That's like 20 years ago.
No, I think.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to throw in there about Ocarina of Time?
JJ is on your list too.
Yeah, it was on my list too. Yeah, I really, as you said, that was like the first big for Nintendo anyway, because I think N64 came out around the time the PlayStation did, right? So it's kind of like you had Final Fantasy VII and then Zelda, but Zelda was just it. So that was like seeing Hyrule in 3D and this big, like that first time walking out onto Hyrule Field was just like, this is everything that my childhood brain imagined it would be.
Mm-hmm. And that music kicks in, and you get
goosebumps. Yeah. And seeing some of my favorite monsters from the Zelda series, because I used to draw them when I was in elementary school. So like seeing them, like what is it, the big spinning thing, whatever they're called. I have to look them up. They're in Hyrule Field, the big one. Yeah, the big thing that like spins up out of the ground and chases you down like that. I was like, holy crap, that's one of those P-hat.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It was just, it was phenomenal. Like there's a reason it's on my list too, but
yeah.
The 3DS version's better though, because they cleaned it up really nice. But I would take it on an N64 Classic for sure.
Yeah.
All right, JJ, you are up with the number 3 pick. Do you need some time?
No, I don't. So my pick would be Mario Kart 64.
Ooh.
I played a lot of this game, mainly with my roommate and a couple friends. We played this game so much. So much. We would just plan, people, they would come over to our house and we would play. And I had a job where I had to get up really early at the time. And it was kind of a running joke where we would play, all 4 of us, until probably 10 or 11. I had to go to bed. And then for like the next couple hours, I would come out of my room and I would hear like, shh, because they were still playing. And they would hear the door open and I would hear, shh. And I would come out and you have to say, will you guys please be quiet? But that game, we played that game so much. Like, I don't remember many of the tracks now, but it was my introduction to Mario Kart. Sadly, I didn't play the Super Nintendo version, even though I've got an SNES Classic over here, but still I haven't played it. But that was just fantastic. And again, it was kind of similar to The Legend of Zelda in that these are some of the first 3D games I played. Even though I wasn't a big racing fan, having this kart game, you could play 4 players, on screen together. It was just fantastic. And just I rarely laughed so much playing a game as we did playing that.
Nice. So. Yeah, it's similar to me too, but I think the story that sticks out, for me, I think Mario Kart 64 was, I guess, the start of my game collecting, because I think it's the very first game I ever bought. And I didn't even own an N64. My brother did. So when he would come home from college and I would play it, and then he would take it with him for like 6 months and then come back and play it again. But yeah, man, that game was just too cool. I remember my mom being like, "Are you sure you want to buy this game?" I'm like, "Absolutely. Like, this is the game that I want to get." And yep, it's worth it.
That game, I think the biggest innovation that game brought was that. Sorry, clearing my throat here. That was the big game that made 4-player local a thing. I think Wave Race technically did it first, but when Mario Kart 64 came out, and because consoles at the time only had 2 controller ports, Nintendo 64 had 4, and when it launched, it only had Mario 64 and Pilot Wings, which weren't 4-player. But when you got that Mario Kart and you realized you could plug 4 controllers in and 4 of your friends could play instead of 2, completely changed the dynamic of local play.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Never looked back since.
For sure.